Commissioner Gill,
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez, Chairman Landers,
Here.
Commissioner McGee,
Here.
Commissioner Mower,
Here.
Commissioner Taylor,
Here.
Councilmember Turnbow, and Commissioner Wilhoit.
Here.
You have a quorum with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 members present, 1 absent.
All right, approval of the agenda.
Anything to add or subtract from the agenda? Make a motion to approve.
Motion made, seconded, roll call.
Oh, we did that. Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry, we can all in favor.
Okay, we'll just go ahead and, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, Don Gonzalez just walked in.
All right, makes us a full members.
All right, approval of the minutes for the planning commission meeting of November 21st, 2023.
Motion approved.
I disapprove,
You're not a member of the board, no.
but I disapprove.
Got a motion and seconded?
Who
All-
seconded, I'm sorry, Joe Paul?
Both.
Both, okay.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Constituent comments, okay, I think y'all know the rules.
I stated the rules at the beginning. We start with the first person who signed up. We have a 15-minute section set aside, and you have 3 minutes, each person who gets up. We do take opposing comments, so after the first person speaks, I'll ask for a person who might oppose that has signed up. If there's nobody in opposition, we'll just go to the next person on the list. Mr. Blevins, you're first. I'll start the timer when you start speaking.
We don't have that on the screen.
No, sir, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Is this working?
Yes.
Dylan, is it on?
Did you
I'm
push?
not hearing.
You
I
have,
can hear it, he's fine.
Okay, go ahead. We wanted to try to record.
There you go,
it.
the light
There
came
you go.
on.
Okay.
You're on.
Good evening, my name is Josh Blevins and I live in Union Station. We're PUD directly to the west of the proposed Remington Farms PUD. I want to thank you to many of my neighbors who showed up tonight to speak or just observe the proceedings on this very important issue. I'd like to also thank some of our county commissioners who have showed up. Not all of them will speak, and I wouldn't presume to put any words into their mouth, but I feel like their presence here tonight on Christmas week shows the seriousness of some of the items on the agenda this evening. I'd also like to start by commending the work and effort that went into this PUD proposal by the city staff, particularly the planning department, and the many works I know that's gone into this by the developer, Mr. Knox. I attended the neighborhood meeting hosted by the developer, Mr. Seagroves, on December 14th, and I've also read thoroughly the 22-page PUD proposal presented at that meeting. The PUD proposal is a pretty good proposal. It checks all the correct boxes and meets all the criteria for approval. There'll be talk tonight about increased traffic, but there's been a traffic study done, and the results of that study have been incorporated into the plan. There'll be talk of utility infrastructure, but I'm sure Shelbyville Power has signed off on everything, or this proposal would not be before you tonight. I'm not here tonight to tell you that this proposal is not good. I'm here to tell you that it could be much better than it is, and ask that you would work with the developer to turn what is a pretty good development into a great development. If we're just gonna pass through every development that comes to the planning commission with all the correct boxes checked, why do we even have a planning commission? For myself personally, as a neighbor to this development, the biggest issue I have with the current plan can be summed up in 2 words: unnecessary density. I'm gonna repeat again, unnecessary density. According to the most recent census, Shelbyville has 11,800 acres of land inside the city limits. Our population at the census was 23,557 people. That's a current average density of 2 residents per acre. This development proposes 715 units on 148 acres. At our census average of three people per residence, that will put nearly 2,000 people on less than 150 acres. That's a density of 13.5 people per acre, 7 times our current average. Even worse, the 34 acres of townhomes would have a density of 28 people per acre. This is unnecessary density. Imagine for a minute you're someone looking to buy into this development 15 years down the road. It's complete. What benefits are you getting from living in this densely packed neighborhood? This is not a true mixed-use neighborhood like Lennox Village or Berry Farms. You can't walk to a grocery store. You can't walk your kids to school. You can't walk to a restaurant or a coffee shop. There are 2 parcels with less than 10 acres at the front dedicated to commercial, but no plan for their future use. I live next door in Union Station. We have 22 acres dedicated to commercial use. Those 22 acres have sat empty for over 15 years. I didn't come before you this evening to try to stop all development. I support annexing the property into the city limits. It's located between 2 existing neighborhoods. It's a good candidate for annexation. What I am asking you to do is push back on the PUD as proposed. This property could be turned into a great neighborhood of single-family homes that would fit into the character and design of the surrounding neighborhoods of all these people sitting here behind me this evening. Neighborhoods like Green Hills, West Meadows, Union Station, Wheatfield, Union Heights, Garden Gate. All of these surrounding neighborhoods are single-family.
Mr. Blevins, I'm gonna have to call you that your
Okay.
timer's gone.
All right, can I just real quick on the R4? 2 seconds, 15 seconds. There is R4 across the street. It's a 3-building apartment complex built in the 1970s. There's no other R4 on the Union Street corridor other than that particular apartment complex. And I don't want us to make a decision based on something that happened well before our current planning guidelines. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Josh.
Thank you.
If Ms. Woodruff, you're next, do you have an opposing view to Mr. Blevins?
No, I do not.
Okay, does anyone else have an opposing view to Mr. Blevins that signed up? Okay, Ms. Woodruff, you can go. When you start speaking, you have 3 minutes and I'll set the timer.
Mr. Blevins, I wanna thank you so much for your research and your time and your work that you have done on this. It's been excellent what you've provided us with tonight. And I do agree with him 100%. The one problem that I have is with the planning board and how we have been notified. You have already had, to my knowledge, 2 meetings. This is the 3rd meeting. And I only know of 2 people that were notified of 1 meeting, and it was after the fact. Now, that's poor planning. And I think you all were here to be as a part of the planning board and send out the information as it needs to be. Am I not correct?
No,
No.
No, you're not.
All right, who said it out?
it's advertised in the Times Gazette. Every meeting is.
The Times Gazette, okay?
No, well, it'd be the Post now.
The
It's
Post.
online, it's posted on the city
Okay,
webpage.
now how long
all
has that
that.
been, it was shut down for a period of time, correct?
The city, it's on the city website all the time.
Okay, so, but you don't notify people within the development of what you're planning to do and
No, we don't send
major.
out
Not
notices.
individual.
No, we don't send out individual
Or
notices.
why were some
As
people
a,
notified?
as
What
an
meeting are you talking about?
annexation,
The meeting about the subdivision or something? I think that was a private meeting. That was not, that was not.
this is the first
No,
public
no,
meeting.
It's
That was,
already
I
done.
think that was an
Follow.
information meeting for the
Follow.
subdivision.
Go ahead.
This is the first public meeting, this has been.
This is the first public meeting,
Yes,
and we're supposed to,
evidently you knew about it, you're here.
by the grapevine.
Well, You're here.
It's by the grapevine, which is poor planning.
We don't.
I think we all.
State law says we have to notify it, it's on the website, it's advertised
So
in
we're
print.
supposed to sit here every day and watch your website to make sure
Yes,
everything's
if
done
you wanna know
right.
what's going on,
Wow, that's good.
so we're supposed to send out itemized letters to everybody.
If it affects you,
So-
if it affects you,
Mr. Chairman,
I'll let the legal counsel answer
Okay.
this.
this is supposed to be public comment. This is not a conversation between the planning commission and the public. They're allowed to tell you their thoughts. You all well know, state law does not require anyone in planning to give that level of notice. Now, we do that on rezonings. On occasion, we'll have it posted. And Wally could, at a later time in this meeting, go through and tell you what it is, but having this conversation right here is inappropriate. It's cutting into her time.
thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
But I do oppose that this land be changed from agriculture to residential under the circumstances. Because I live in the Meadows, and it has always been a lovely, lovely neighborhood, one of the finest that's been here in Bedford County. And I don't wanna see 714 developments put down that road into Cloverdale.
Camera
That
goes off.
number goes out.
Joe Paul, yours wasn't, you'll see it right here,
Red.
red.
Miss Haley Epperson. Miss Epperson, you'll have 3 minutes. I'll start when you start.
Yes, ma'am. My question is a lot to do with the water. I know in what's the meetings y'all have when y'all talk together, study sessions, it was brought up, we already have water issues. We're currently taking over in 7 million, and that's not counting the approved developments already as well. So this wouldn't be counting this high residential development. If it does go, I think Wally said in a month or two, it'll be brought up again, and it could be reduced to 6 million, possibly even less, which would not even meet our daily standard. I think the daily, they said even if 20 days were met at that, it still would not cover just the 6 million intake. That brings me to the question of how would this be beneficial if we can't even handle what there's now. I know, prior to that, y'all said the sewage, y'all got some plan going on with that to try to get that under control. But why are we adding on when we can't handle or make infrastructure to handle what we have? It's like we keep building and building and building. I know, like you said, we're gonna hear about the road issue. I think there's talk of a median lane or a middle turning lane. Even if that's brought in there, we had that prior on 231, and it was stop and go traffic still with just someone trying to take a left. You get in the middle lane and it was still stop and go traffic. You can barely cut across from Jennings to get over to go towards town. I cut through there all the time to see friends, family that live over there. I also know that, let me see, think on down, there is D and E, we're trying to get more zoning of the agriculture into low density. So again, we're piling on top of that area. A week ago or 2 weeks ago, y'all approved something else your city council did of zoning in more agriculture, annexing in into the same area location. So here we are with about 7, one's trying to get developed. We have about 4 or 5 we're trying to annex in the same area. So we're just overlapping on top of each other here. And so I don't even live in this area, but I can see all their concerns. You see no opposing this here. And that could be for many reasons though, but I would hate to know my children were living in a nice neighborhood and then we're just piling on traffic there. I have 3 kids. Where are the kids gonna go? I think she said, how much, 2,000 people, maybe 500, even 500. Where are the kids gonna go? Let's say you have one household, they populate 2 more kids into the community. So, I mean, you're building Cartwright, it's already gonna be overcrowded. You're pulling 11 teachers from Aiken, maybe about 10 from Eastside, which is, we're trying to get rid of the trailer situation. Do we just need to tell Dr. Garrett to keep the trailers there? Cause we're gonna need them apparently. We're just, I don't see any planning. I see, let's just keep pushing through. Let's keep pushing through and just make someone's pocket a little deeper and richer at this point. I don't mean that meanly because I get their point, but then again, we don't even have anything to offer here. We're a hub. They're going to Franklin, they're going to Murfreesboro, they're going to Nashville. I mean, when I go take my kids somewhere, it's not in Shelbyville. It may be Chick-fil-A for a little dinner, but there's nothing here to offer this many people.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Desiree Marlin.
Yes, well, I doubt anybody's gonna wanna hear anything I've got to say. Cause I found out about this 2 days ago, and I made a mission to try to get around to everybody I knew, so they would know about this meeting. I've moved over here with and I have 14 grandchildren, and they're a big part of my life. I've met a lot of elderly people out here in our neighborhood that walks around. I've seen new families move in with strollers with their children, and I wanna know who even has any consideration for our neighborhood, because I'm not feeling it. I'm just not feeling it. I mean, if y'all could do that without us knowing, it's just, I'm just not feeling it. I'm with her. I'm not rich, I don't care what they do over there, but I don't think it should be infringed on top of us and change our way of life and devalue our homes and, you know, our life. Because that's pretty much what you're doing. I mean, there's plenty of property out there. I mean, and to my understanding, in going door to door, the past 2 days, trying to make sure everybody knows about this meeting, I'm hearing that, well, there's considerations that it won't come through here by this person's house, but it's gonna come through here by this person's house. You know, and so why, you know, I'm not understanding. I'm just not understanding, and I don't appreciate it, and I'm not for it.
Okay, the final speaker is Candy Green. We have several after her signed up, but our time is gonna be out after her 3 minutes.
Somebody can go in my place. I mean, I don't have any other points. If anybody else wants to speak up that that's on the list, you're more than welcome to come forward quickly in my place.
The next person would be Leah Kelly.
Leah Kelly?
Good evening, and thank you for taking my comments. Is this on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I live on 41A, directly across from the Union Station development, and I support development, but I do not support several aspects of this development. And it gives me some great concern that they're proposing to build 715 units on the south side of 41A and another, I don't know how many, I've heard 300, it could be more, west of Jennings Lane, north of 41A. All of that together is going to bring a lot of traffic onto Union Street and 41A, and the traffic mitigation in this plan is inadequate to handle all of that. They're only proposing a turn lane. You need 4 lanes plus a turn lane plus sidewalks. I'm also seeing nothing about schools to handle all of the children that are going to be in 715 units of housing in this development south of 41A, plus however many are west of Jennings Lane. There's also inadequate shopping on that side of town. A real concern that I have is the high-density townhouse units. These are probably not going to be attractive for purchase as owner-occupied, which means that they are going to bring in a lot of tenants, rental tenants. As a rental property owner, I can tell you that the kind of tenant who is attracted to a 2-bedroom townhouse with no garage is probably going to be troublesome. And without any on-site management to handle the problems, I think you're asking for trouble, and I am concerned that this is gonna put a lot of load on your law enforcement in Shelbyville. I'm not opposed to an apartment complex, but it needs to be managed as an apartment complex. Anything that's designed to be owner-occupied needs to be single-family detached. I'm sure that you've taken into consideration the water and sewer, but I just feel like that the extra load on all of the city resources may not have been adequately considered, such as the law enforcement, such as the schools, such as the traffic, and then provisions for shopping. So I am not opposed to the development of single-family detached middle-class homes, but you really need to take into consideration, where are these people going to work? It's probably going to be north of Shelbyville, maybe the northern part of Bedford County, but more likely up in Rutherford County and Marshall County and even farther north and west. And all of that traffic is gonna be coming down through the middle of Shelbyville until you get the bypass built. And how long is it gonna be till they get the bypass to 41A built? I just don't think you have considered the load that this is going to put on Shelbyville's resources as they currently exist.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along to new business. A, consideration of the site plan application in the R4 residential high-density zoning district at 616 Deary Street for a multifamily development consisting of 6 attached residential dwellings. Molly?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone.
Can you turn it off while
Yes,
waiting for
please.
these?
I think it's when you touch it.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
If you're not, don't touch it,
Okay.
if you just talk loud,
Yeah.
maybe.
Can you hear me now? Is that okay?
Yes.
Great, okay. So the first item we have is the site plan, and as we see on the slide here, we're talking about this site. So if you are familiar with the gas station at the intersection of Madison and Dairy, this would be the site we're talking about. The site has already been zoned high density, I guess like more than 10 years ago. So there was an application here, and I'm gonna go back to the detail, for building 6 attached units. Sometimes we call it townhomes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Well, as you know, earlier this year, we adopted new design standards, which means that any new application for multi-family or multi-family will have to be up to the new standards. So it took us a while between the staff and the applicant to reach the application we have now, and I will show you why. First of all, if you look here, you will see that not all in the same line. Some of them are what we call in our lingo A6, so they're set back, so they're not horizontal. And you will see here, when we look at the following slide, there is articulation and window on the wall here facing those sides. Also, there's minimum requirement for green space. You will see also that there's a buffer between the property line here, which will be the one for the gas station, and the townhomes, it will be a landscape buffer to make sure that there's a distance between the commercial use and the residential use. This gives you an idea of how it will look like, and again, because of our new standards, the elevation are required as part of the site plan. You will see that there's different color to distinguish between the different units, and you will see some of them are set back, some of them are set forward. Just to give the indication when you are there, they are not one wall. And you will see this is the one facing west. You will see that it looks like it's a door and a window, just so that it's not a blank wall. By doing that, and also there are many details in the application, they meet the minimum requirement. That's why staff would recommend approval with no condition. With that, I just would like to open the floor for any questions you have. I know, Don, you are very well versed in design, so I expect some questions from you. I'm sorry for the echo, I don't know what's going on. I did it off just for that.
Just talk loud. I think he needs to get that one replaced.
Yes, I think
Maybe
so.
a lot of feedback.
So I will go back to this one, Donna. This is the one that actually, it will be the one how it's built. So this is not just for illustration, it's how it will look like. And this is the design of the actual site plan. You will see that for the limited mobility area, there's a door in the concrete to allow for people to come in and out. This is the closest one here.
So the end one has the entrance on the side, not on the front?
No, this is the one that we're talking about, the one facing the
So
street.
it faces the street,
So
it
it
has
has
an
two
entry on the.
two
on the
entrances, yes.
face.
And you will see that the dumpster area is set back far away, so you cannot see it from the street, so it feels more like residential.
The mail kiosk, you could also.
This one would be individual ones.
Would be individual.
Individual.
The amount.
Right.
The design standards are really a big improvement.
And this would be for the big subdivision, this is not a subdivision.
Right.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any other questions? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion made, seconded, roll call.
Commissioner Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Mower,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Councilmember Turnbow,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilhoit,
Yes.
Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
and Chairman Landers.
Yes.
Motion's approved.
All right, B, consideration of preliminary plat in the R4 residential high-density zoning district for a property located on the south side of Madison Street to create a total of 57 residential dwellings spread across 9 townhome buildings.
Mr. Chair, I would prefer not to use the mic, which has a lot of echo. Are you okay? Can you hear me now? Just, okay, that makes it way easier. So to give you a little bit of background here, you recall earlier this year, this section was a zone from C2 to high density. So now the applicant is applying for the whole site, which is the one here, which is 7.3 acres, to have a preliminary subdivision. So all of it is zoned R4, and the idea or the intent is to have 9 buildings with a total of 57 units in all of them. I don't know if it's clear enough or not. If not, I have some plans here for you guys. That might be easier to see actually. So, hey Chair, Mr. Chair, just let me know when I can start. Are we good? Okay. So, we're talking about 59 units, and it's gonna be homeowner association basically, so every unit owner will own the unit, and they will share all the other spaces. So you'll see building 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the area hatched here in black is gonna be the green space. As we know now, we have a minimum requirement of 5% to be usable green space. They are providing it here, all this hash area. The green space for us does not include detention ponds. It has to be usable where you can have a playground, open space to compensate for the smallness of the units. And you will see it's overlooking Madison. There's an access here. And you will see this area here is gonna be what you were talking about, which is the main kiosk area. So they have 2 parking spaces and 1 additional one for limited mobility. You will see that each one of them is gonna have 2 parking spaces on each driveway. They meet the minimum requirements.
This is adjacent to an existing,
Yes, on the east,
home or-
on the east side, yes. So, for any subdivision, we have to make sure that there's a nexus, and there's also proportionality about what is being asked for. The actual main access, I mean the street, is gonna be private, so city is not taking over any land delegation. So going back to this one, we have only one procedural notification, which is that there's actually reading here. Let me show that each lot. Okay, so I know that each lot meets the minimum requirement, but they didn't show the dimension. So what we're asking is there will be another one, if it's approved, showing the dimension. But everything else was met. And I know the applicant might have sent it 2 hours ago, I did see it.
So that's it,
He said he sent actually the one with the dimension, I did see it,
just to you.
to me only.
Okay, any other questions?
I do have a question. These are designed to be individually sold, right?
Yes.
Like individual ownership. And so each one of these are designating specific plots of land that they'll own.
Yes.
And they're maximizing completely that whole property line, completely.
Those you have.
And so is this little X here supposed to be the backyard?
No, okay, so we did ask them to show if they are gonna have future push or anything to show how it will meet the minimum requirement. So If you look at the black line, this is the
Okay, but
end.
essentially, we don't have any type of Florida area ratio that they have to stay in the property lines itself, where basically each one of these units have absolutely no backyard. They're playing in a retention pond,
Do you
other
meet,
than walking all the way down here to go to Green States.
they meet the minimum requirement for the backyard.
The minimum requirement for backyard is what?
These are zero lot lines
Zero lot line?
with, how much in the back?
I thought the backyard was 20 feet wide,
Yes, well,
so that's not 20 feet.
no, the backyard here, this is actually here, this is the peach lot.
Oh, okay, so this is just the front?
This is the property line for the whole subdivision, this is each individual. So when they come back to apply.
From here?
No,
From here?
it will be from the building to this one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, so this is showing the building, and that building is going to that property line.
Okay, so
You
maybe,
see, there's no 20 feet from that property line to the back of that building.
that one here, take out, ask the actual surveyor, it might be here.
And, I mean, and there's multiple ones here, where there's not a 20, if that's 20 feet, it's very, very, very nice. But it's literally right out there.
I'm sorry, there might be actually counting. I'm on my bad. Yes, so the 24 feet, 57.1 feet, so, and it does, any area could be considered a backyard, there's no requirement to be a specific.
There's no requirement for the individual property lot line that one person's owning. So this being the whole lot, this being the whole land that's being subdivided, when I come in and purchase this is what I own, that
Yes.
becomes my property line, so the back side of that,
It's
I
called-
have
it's
no
called-
backyard, or there's no yard to play in. This is your cul-de-sac, so people are driving here, your driveway's here, this is where your kids are gonna play off the backyard into a retention pond.
So we can ask them to revise it to show this to include up to the end of the property line.
So you're talking this being the property line,
In
not
case,
this being the
yes,
property line?
that's the one, I'm sorry. And the idea is that the common space here would be the playing area for the whole subdivision. Of course, you still need the backyard, but they can show it to meet, I know it meets the minimum.
From here to here,
From here to here.
right, okay.
But in our zoning ordinance, it doesn't say how it should be shaped like to be considered a backyard.
Okay.
Is there any place for overflow parking in there at all?
What's that?
Any place for overflow parking?
No.
There wouldn't be one
No.
for this one. The other option is, and this
So
is,
there's place for two cars.
And you got
For
two
two cars,
spots
they
for-
have
and you've
two
got
cars per
three
unit.
spots for
Okay,
the
yeah.
kiosk.
and this because if it's multi-family and not subdivided out, they will have to have minimum 18% for visitors parking. But because this is individually owned, there's no minimum requirement.
Street for the cars.
And again, this is gonna be a private state, it's not gonna be public.
Yes, and so each unit has 2 spots.
Oh. That makes
No
it hard.
guests, just you and your kid, that's in the car.
No yard, no gas.
And I know guys, when we talk about this, just let me be clear, we talk about the existing regulation. As long as we don't have it, we cannot ask more than what we have.
I know, I was just
Right.
asking.
Okay, any other questions?
There will be sidewalk.
Yeah, there's a sidewalk
5 feet
there.
on each side.
There is a sidewalk.
And you know, this side of Madison doesn't have a sidewalk. Otherwise, it would have to tie into it, but it ends here. However, in the future, potentially, we can apply for funding for all Madison. We're actually doing it anyway.
Seems like I remember, Wally, when they had commercial property at the very front of this originally.
Exactly.
And because that's all residential area out there, we went ahead and approved allowing them to go ahead with residential construction up to the street, is that correct?
Plus, also, there was another issue that at some point, when they did the R4 to the back, they didn't do the subdivision. So the whole lot, one piece, had 2 different zones. So it was a combination of 2
So,
parcels.
and this all should have been commercial, and Kevin Marshall.
Is this the original amount of units that they asked for on this piece of property, or have they expanded from that?
They went down because we asked for the meeting
Yeah,
space, so
okay.
this is less than what we asked.
Dawn, what was the comment that you suggested? Are you still gonna go?
Yeah, we can ask this recommendation, but
Could you
be sure-
clarify that for us all? So that we know?
Well, after Wally explained it, their 20-foot setback is from the overall property line, not the individual property line of the units themselves. And so my assumption was that their 20-foot setback should have been from the individual property lines that one person's gonna own. Cause I own my lot and I can't go up to the 0 lot line on my lot regardless. So they're doing the 20-foot setback from the overall property line versus the property line that one individual's gonna own. And it should, my assumption would be that the 20-foot setback should be from the individual property line that I'm gonna be purchasing and owning versus the overall lot line. But when you consider that they're taking this as a building, so this is one building, that building has a minimum setback from the overall property line of 20 feet. And then they're building the units from there, and then as a it basically is essentially considered a condo unit. Although it's not a multi-story condo unit, it's a townhome unit, and so the concept is a little different. So once Wally explained that, it came a little clearer that they're setting back from that overall property line. I just am concerned that they, again, that minimum screen space doesn't really give children much. And, I mean, you're cramming on these buildings back to back on a lot. You've got a lot of multi-family.
I don't like the legal interpretation of the 20-foot.
You know, guys,
She's here. Why can't she
ask
provide
whatever
legal
you want.
interpretation?
I told you that this has been going on for
Right.
half a year, and it's less than what it used to be.
Right.
That's just professional staff recommendation, you can ask for whatever you like.
Well, we can't ask for anything that's not written in our bylaws, so that's the problem.
That's
Without
one.
bylaws, you don't really have any leg to stand on to stop something from coming in.
I can tell you, it meets all the requirements of the zoning ordinance and the subdivision regulation at this stage.
Okay, any other questions? I'll entertain a motion one way or another. Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, roll call. Oh,
That's with the procedural notification.
Yes.
Mr. Wilhoit? Mayor Carroll?
Yes.
Commissioner Gill?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Chairman Landers?
yes.
Commissioner McGee?
Yes.
Commissioner Mower? Commissioner Taylor? And Councilman Turnbull?
Yes.
Approved.
All right, C, consideration of an annexation request for approximately 124 acres of vacant land located on the south side of Union Street, as referred to as tax map 079, partial 047. Wally?
Mr. Chair, so let me give you a little bit of history about what happened. So back in January this year, and if we look at the slide here, I'm sorry, here. So the applicant applied for annexation. The way it actually happens is if anybody is interested to be annexed, first you have to go to council, ask for potentially sending it to the planning commission for recommendation. After the planning commission meeting, it goes to council twice. What happened, the applicant went to the council back in January, and the council was okay with considering sending it to the planning commission. However, as far as I understand, the deal for the land was not finalized. So the applicant chose not to bring it to the planning commission all this time, which is almost a year. They decided to do it last couple months ago. That's why you have it now instead of, it should have been in February if they chose to do this. So what we're talking about is this big piece of land that has number 47. It's about in total it's about 160 acres. However, a portion of it, and I'm actually approximately It's where I am highlighting here with the laser pointer. This whole section from where the laser pointer is up north, which is about 9.8 acres, is already in the city. So what they're actually asking for is for this area south of it is to be annexed. As we speak now, it is in the county, I mean the big portion, and it's zoned agricultural, which is the main land use in the county. Again, this will actually explain more what I was trying to say. So this whole black area is in the city, and I'm sorry, it's 38 acres, it's not 9. The rest of it here, the green line, is outside the city. So they're asking for annexing this area in the county. And when we look at any annexation, we evaluate it under what our future annexation map is. If you look closely, you will see it's in the middle of the annexation, future annexation land. So it's a potential land to be considered for annexation. Like what I mean, if it's outside here, we don't look at it. And when we look at annexation, also we look at future land use map, which is in our comprehensive plan. You will see that this was considered all along. You will see it was meant for mixed use. It's under a character called Union State, which is calling for commercial along Union and mixed use behind it. And I can slow down if you have any questions here. As part of the annexation, and you might be aware of it, there has been a lot of discussion over a year between Shelbyville Power and the applicant. We got this letter. It's an official letter from the general manager, and it basically, and I believe it's in your submission, it says that they're okay with it, and there will be money paid upfront for sewage, and money also for water, but they are confirming that they have all the capacity to deal with it. And there will be, I believe some of the money has already been paid, if I'm not mistaken. And this is actually the part, so I wanna separate between the two. So what will happen now, because they came late for the annexation, we are having the application for annexation now, and the following item is actually gonna be the part. So depending on what you guys decide, assuming you decide to have a favorable recommendation to council, then it makes sense also to look at the part. But if you guys feel, oh, we shouldn't look at it, we can discuss. But in terms of annexation requirement, they basically check all the boxes.
And then annexation, just so clear, it will defer, if it is voted by this body and voted to the council.
Yes,
It will defer to R1 if there's no other action taken on it.
absolutely. So that's the automatic action. If you annex it and you don't oppose the part, it will be the automatic one, which is R1.
Okay. Any other questions?
Last thing maybe I should add, during the comprehensive plan, which took a long time, as you know, this has always been part of the comprehensive plan, even before I came in, the whole site.
And with the portion of the subject already being in the city.
Yes, that's why it was actually considered, and they decided that it should be mixed use all along, you know.
Any motion?
I'll make a motion to send a positive or favorable recommendation to the city council for the annexation.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded, roll call.
Mayor Carroll,
No.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez, Chairman Landers,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
No.
Commissioner Moore,
No.
Thank you.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Councilmember Turnbow,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilhoit. I have 6 yes votes, 3 no votes.
Okay. D, consideration of a planned unit development referred to as Remington PUD consisting of 715 residential units on 9.83 acres of commercially designated land.
Mr. Chair, so before I start, please ask me to explain anything. There are lots of details. It's a big part. I'm not gonna be able to cover all the stuff we have. However, luckily enough, some of the comments that I heard from the public, I already have answered to them as part of my preparation for the meeting. So, the site we're talking about is the same site here. And what we're talking about, I'm just going over the numbers here. So they're talking about 400 lots, single family, 315 units, which will be attached, and there will be about 10 or 9 acre to be exact commercial. Commercial will be here along Union, and this was one of the big discussion item we had over here and have between staff and the applicant. Because the whole idea is to make our main corridors more active. And as far as I recall, some of the members here, I mean the community members, were talking about where would you go, like shopping and where you get your stuff. The whole goal is that the whole site here will be self-sufficient, and it will be also a destination, because 10 acres that will allow for a lot of different commercial use, which is a goal the city has emphasized in all the documents. I mean, comprehensive plan, all the economic studies with it. We have very short supply of commercial sites. That gives you an idea of the layout. This is very general. This is commercial here, what I was talking about. The access is gonna be from Union. This area is gonna be townhomes, and all of the back of it is gonna be single detached. And we asked the applicant to submit a phasing plan, because we need to know how it's actually gonna be built up. You will see there will be a total of 12 different phases. You will see it doesn't correspond to single or multi-family. There will be crossover between the two along the phases, just because each phase we are asking for improvements. That's why the timing. Okay, one very big aspect that I would like to discuss with you guys is the connections. You see, unlike previous subdivision where you have one connection similar to the one to the west, this is gonna have the maximum number we could get. So the main one will be here, Union. There will be another one from Cloverdale.
No.
Okay, you can ask me after I'm done if you don't mind. Okay.
There's no asking, it's telling you.
Okay, fair enough. Cloverdale, there will be another access point here, but it depends on the possibility of having agreement between the applicant here and the owners of the land here. There will be another 2 going south here in the future, if possible. So,
Where does those south ones connect to though? Like where would they, in the future?
Rabbit Ranch.
so the idea is, they cannot acquire the land outside of the site. So, any connection will work out if you are doing a subdivision and you are planning for it. Unfortunately, in the past, some of the neighboring subdivision did not take this into account. So there's a limitation here of what we can do. And we actually had weeks and weeks of discussion between our engineer and the engineers that worked on the study. Some of it, nobody can control because it was not designed before. However, we are trying to make the best out of it. And I have to say, I'm not here talking about anyone specifically. There was a lot of flexibility from the developer about, knowing that it's very difficult to do, but they knew that it's a requirement we have.
Yeah, but it's arbitrary. If there's no way to know what way they can or can't do it in the future, there's no way to connect it.
Some of it will actually build cul-de-sacs connecting. Some of it, I know that they will talk about potentially having this one with the property owners here. The other ones here, it will depend on what will happen in the future. So some of it, of course, yes, we are not sure about, but the fact, because when you actually build connection, you are losing land a lot. So the willingness to do it, even though you are not sure, this is all what we could do at this stage.
Right. But the developer's asking us to approve something that he can't confirm that he can do.
Exactly.
Well,
Actually, you are the one who asked for it, not the developer.
Right,
Just
but
to be fair.
as far as we're concerned for the city, I'm in concurrence with a lot of the comments, the fact that you can't have one in and out. And right now, you're only showing one guaranteed in and out for 400 plus homes, or 700 plus homes. And you can't guarantee that in the future, any of this is gonna happen. Whether it's
Exactly.
connected to Cloverdale or the back
We
ones.
can guarantee Cloverdale because the city already, when it is done.
No.
done.
You ain't coming up close.
No,
I'm talking from a legal point of
You
view.
can't
Right,
guarantee
from a
Cloverdale,
legal point of view,
'cause that's the
Cloverdale
vote.
might be able to happen, but the
Wow.
other one,
Don't had your comments, and this is our meeting for the commission. So
Well,
please, hold you.
the traffic impact study that we were given, I do have concern with it. It was completed in August 22, and as we know, there's, in a short time, there's been a lot of moving and shaking through there.
We can ask for this actually to be a,
Revised.
that's fine.
I'm not comfortable with it, how, since it was August, that's 16 months ago when this was done, and there's been a lot happening in between that time, and I think that there's a lot, it was projected to 2030, I believe, and I don't believe these newer considered projects were,
they weren't even on the books yet.
well, they looked
Right,
at
I agree.
historical records and historical growth, and I think could conclude that this is an unhistorical growth in this area. And I think that it probably needs to be a further, study on this area as the impact of the traffic. Because whatever the requirement is just basically three things, and it's widening in certain areas.
Mhm.
And, with, certain projects that are, in the works or possibly could come along, I would
Sure, yeah.
I would really feel good if that was, studied again.
I think it needs to be widened from
I'll tell you what I know.
Union Station all the way through Green Hill.
All the way.
Yeah, this morning we had a meeting with our engineer, he was actually in-person meeting to go over all of this. Again, it's not my domain, he said that he feels very comfortable with it as it is and it's being accurate. But again, if you would like, we can definitely, and Ginger, she asked for updating the study,
Who feels comfortable with it?
our engineer.
I don't feel comfortable with it.
I don't.
I think it's a big decision. I mean, that's just me personally. We're just talking this out as a body. I don't know if they amended or do a new traffic study, but I think that there's additional information that needs to be included into that.
Fair enough, I believe you can add to the
That could
condition.
be put in as a
The
condition.
condition to be amended before it goes to
We
the.
can ask for anything we want from this.
And if this, whatever the outcome is different, it has to come back to the planning commission.
Is there anything on the books that we know of DOT, like the state doing anything with widening our roads here? Cause I know not all the roads here are owned by Shelbyville.
Charlotte?
We have a lot of roads where DOT, like the Tennessee DOT needs to get involved on the front end
Right.
before we start getting these major, impacts on our roads, because once it's done, it's done. There is no widening a road once a house is in the way.
No.
You have to have that on the front end versus on the hind end.
That's a very good point, actually, we did it over the whole year, so we just had the last meeting, virtual meeting 2 weeks ago. TDOT is not looking at widening anything in the near future, and as far as the study goes, they're okay with it and all the recommendations, so we have the approval.
I agree, but I don't wanna become Shelbyville where we have to put a moratorium on development just because we didn't think ahead of time. And that's what happened in, Mount Juliet. So Mount Juliet had to put a moratorium on development because they started letting the developers come in and boom, 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 and suddenly they're like, oh, we thought we can handle it and now we can't. So we need to make sure that we're on the front end with that and getting the development happening on the infrastructure first before we go arbitrarily approving major developments coming through that we assume we can handle, but we don't know because we haven't been there yet. This is new to everybody here in Shelbyville, and the growth is astronomical. Murfreesboro thought about it on the front end. They had their infrastructure built first. They built their roads first, they had the subdivisions done first, and then the development started, then the malls started coming, then the housing started coming. They did their infrastructure first. Mount Juliet didn't. Mount Juliet just let it come, and then they were stuck.
Right.
And they had to put a moratorium on the development. And I know you weren't here in Tennessee at the time, so I'm just kinda giving you a little history, but I don't wanna become Mount Juliet.
So, I
Correct.
understood you correctly, and correct me if I'm mistaken, what we're talking about, potentially a condition to amend or update the study, and if the outcome is different from what you guys have seen, it comes back to you, it will go back to the council. Am I correct?
Or are you asking to defer?
I'm asking to defer
I think
this
defer.
approval.
Defer?
from the
They're asking you to defer.
Okay.
I think I would be more comfortable with the deferment now. I'm not sure of our timetable on
You
that.
can do it next month.
Would
It
that
will
be
de-
feasible?
It will depend on the engineer being able to do it.
Then you can ask them to agree.
We have to ask the applicant to agree, otherwise if you defer it just by decision, they only have a month, am I correct? Yeah.
In 30 days.
So does the applicant agree, and is the applicant present?
I believe he's here. Give me a second here, if you don't mind.
Get crowded.
Is Steve here? Hey, Steve? I don't know if you could hear us or not. Okay, so they're asking now for deferring it to update the study, I mean the traffic study. If you agree with that, they can give you unlimited time, because I don't know how long it will take your engineer. If they impose it on you, you have only 30 days to make the changes that they're asking for.
Are you wanting a brand new traffic study or just update?
Well, yeah, it would, I guess, essentially be a new one, with, with developments that have come in that area that I don't think were considered when this was done in August 22. If you could, yeah, it would essentially be a new one, but an amended one with,
I think
It
it has
would
to
be
be
an
new.
update.
I think it has to
It
be
would
new
be an
because
update.
we want a larger
it would be a
scope.
new, yeah.
We want a larger.
Okay, can I ask you for a favor here, so to avoid any misunderstanding? Usually when you do a study, when you go to any engineer, they will have to ask you for what you wanna look at. So do you know what you would like to look at that is not here?
I'd like to look at I would like to expand the scope, you know.
Just let me take notes here.
Well, Wally, I got a question here, I just thought,
Sure.
I'm skipping ahead.
Yeah.
One agenda item coming up, we got another one coming up on Jennings Lane. So obviously you're gonna ask for the same thing. Do they share the traffic study or?
I think it's the density that concerns us here.
It's definitely the density of 700 you're talking 2 vehicles per, so that's 1,400 vehicles coming in and out of there on a 1-lane road.
An
We don't
R1
even have 2 lanes there.
And if you did an R1, you would get out of that so many acres, let's say 300, houses out of that. I'm just kind of spitballing. If you take common areas and roads out, as opposed to the high density here, which is an obvious large strain on the infrastructure. And I think that as far as the traffic study, it's with the growing area already with what Union Station has experienced out there, Union Heights, and then these you've got Jostens in the middle of it. You've got a couple proposed projects. We'd like for those projects to be addressed, or those proposed projects to be addressed, and to see how that would impact that. If all those were approved, or if they
If
weren't.
it all come to fruition, it's gonna be a nightmare. But aside from that, even our downtown streets of Shelbyville handling an extra 1,400 vehicles. I mean, it's not necessarily just the Union impact, it's the impact throughout the whole city of Shelbyville, where we have 2-lane roads with an extra 1,400 vehicles coming our way, and that's just one subdivision. That's not the 150 subdivisions we've already approved over the past year that this doesn't even take into consideration.
I guess I like to get my engineer in here, let him understand what you guys are asking.
Maybe the chair.
Well, I got one question. I remember it was back in the summer, we had this discussion when we knew this was coming. That at some point, we didn't know in what fashion, but we knew it was coming. There was discussion about paying fees and the lot fees and all that, and the developer didn't want to pay all that at one time. He was gonna do this in sections, and wanted to do it so many at a time. So I take it from that, this isn't gonna be like y'all are gonna come in here and all of a sudden, boom, this is developed and it's
No.
there. This is gonna take years to come down the
We're
road, if I'm not,
thinking of a 10-year project.
10 years. So it'd be 10 years before this would be full. Is that what I'm understanding?
That's what we're doing.
Okay, that's,
Mr. Chair,
I just wanna get
It depends
clear
on sales.
how soon this is gonna be done.
okay, I'll just tell you what, this is why we asked for the phasing.
Okay, that's the phases.
Yes.
So they're numbered as, which would go first?
Number one goes first because we have to put the sewer all the way on the backside and put in the pumping station. So that's why we come off the main road and did a road all the way to the rear, and did lots on both sides.
Will the townhouses be concurrent, with the phases there?
We will do a phase one concurrent with phase one of the single family.
How many
That
is
doesn't mean going forward that they will
Correct,
be.
How many is in phase one?
It's, you actually add 61 plus 64, so 125.
Okay.
How much of the acreage is commercial for this to be proposed to be self-sufficient? Is the
It's not
commercial,
some acres.
I'm sorry,
So 9 acres commercial.
9 acres?
Just we, over 100.
Grocery store.
Well, do you anticipate an acre?
It's not,
Yeah.
9 acres.
Okay. So, you say you want to ask your engineer something, is he here or?
Yeah.
Here.
Hold on.
He can answer traffic study. They're discussing update, we want a new traffic study.
What?
And expand it, so.
Hi everybody, Chris McGuire with Holston Steel Engineering, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. We did get an independent third-party traffic study done by Rich Phillips. He does a very thorough, good traffic study. He got existing day counts and did a projection based off distribution on our built-out development. And also projected the potential growth in the area within his study. And his recommendations were to make 2 road improvements, one at the end of Cloverdale and one at 231. Or Union.
41.
Yeah, yes, sir.
What we would like is something updated. This one was done in 2022. Since that time, there's been, I think there was something, last month with Brad's Market, there might be commercial in there, that area also. And then the Jennings Lane project, also, and I think, that wasn't accounted for. I know typical growth was accounted for, but I think this is a non-typical growth that we've got going on in this area, especially including with this. And we would like, for that study to take those into account, those projected things.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that? Is there?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
So the question for you guys, how long would it take you?
If we use the same third-party engineering, they'd have to hire another traffic counting. I would say it'd probably be a month.
Are you comfortable with deferring this issue until this is complete?
My recommendation for you guys, if you don't ask for deferring it, you will have to submit it within 30 days, which I believe is very ambitious. That's just for you. So I know the guy usually take over 60 days after a visit there.
We can talk to them and see.
Okay, so you might
But
want to.
they gotta make a decision tonight, so. If they want the traffic study, I think we need to, so. They want to update the traffic study. I don't see any reason pushing it through with it unless we get traffic study.
And so that we are on the same page, I know you mentioned what you would like to see. Can you repeat it so actually we can capture it?
Okay, and the scope, maybe expand it out to Max Street, to past, Union Heights, I guess, on past Union Heights, several hundred feet, and then with those concerns that I mentioned, but we would like the scope to be a little bit larger on that. Thank you.
And based on that, you guys can have a meeting with our engineer just so that we also in the loop before you start doing.
And
design standards in the pattern book, there seems to be, I guess, conformity, same color, same, are y'all gonna be differentiating the color or the zigzag, I forgot the word, the exterior like we're on our the design
We
standards?
can talk about this.
The ones that I saw were kinda straight, and maybe if we could get a little offset, you know, a
Yes,
little
okay.
more quality development, I mean, like someone said here, that's gonna be here for forever if it did come through, and we would like,
So elevation wise within the book, you'd like to see some more detail on how the fronts vary and color.
do y'all, I
And
mean.
we are not dictating with the color you choose, we just want it to be very.
Stylistic.
Yes.
I'd like to know where the green space is on this project that's conforming to 5% of the overall development, because it seems like there's a lot of lots that don't have much green, like, especially in the townhome area where you have all these back-to-back townhomes and no play area for the children, and if this back lot here is what it is, it doesn't seem to be designed quite efficiently to accommodate for green space and actual usage of the green space. Like, just having green space is one thing, but accessibility and the convenience of the children, children having to have places to go.
A good point. Actually, we had a lot of discussion about it, and I know the applicant was hesitant about moving into the center area, but we can talk about it.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily move it to the center, because I think a development like this needs more than one central play place. You don't want your townhome, residents having to go all the way to the back half of the single-family residence to play, and vice versa. You don't want your single family coming all the way to the front. And then within that, you have 11 phases, and of 11 phases, how many green spaces are proposed in each 11 phase of this project for just activity? Basketball court, soccer area, like anything for the children to do and
I
play?
think we had 6 or 7 proposed amenity areas.
Was it all in the single family, or was there some in the?
We had some in phase 2 through 5 of the townhomes.
2 through 5 of the townhomes down here, okay.
And then we had some up in 6 in the townhomes. We had some
Can
in
you
phase.
show me on here where they're
Yes,
at?
ma'am.
Cause to me, all I see is back houses.
Yeah, well, we have a phasing plan, but I don't know if y'all got that. So this is all walking trail and the dog
This here?
park. Yeah. And then up here was a sports field and a mail kiosk. Over here, let's see, we had a playground back here, secondary dog park down here. We had a.
It's so small, if you please want it, so landscape.
Yeah. No, I know. So if this is the mail, one more question. If this is the mail kiosk back here, what is this, the road that goes down here? And this mail kiosk and a little playground there?
We would rather want to be here, this one is just for what is gonna be built in the city, so. So this focus only on the buildings and not the green space.
No, this is focusing on the specific phasing.
Okay.
Any more questions for the applicant guys?
So traffic studies basically it, and Bo had a few comments on the design, other than that.
We may not need to make a motion for this, or if we good with the agreement,
He can agree to a waive, it's actually 60 days, I looked it in there, yeah. 60 days from tonight to make your decision, but they can agree to waive that,
Okay.
bring it back, but he needs to send that to you in writing.
Good traffic study.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. All right, moving right along. E, consideration of rezoning request from the county's agriculture and forestry zoning district to the residential low-density R2 zoning district for a 48.73 acre parcel on the north side of Union Street, west of Jennings Lane.
Chair, so this one is not new to you, we have seen it a couple of times before. So we're talking about 48.7 acres. This one is going through the annexation process, but now we are talking about zoning. So as we speak, it's still in the county, but once it's annexed, it's gonna be R1. So the applicant in essence is asking for zoning this from what it will be, which is R1 to R2. And again, this is just we talked about before. It is, over here is the site we are talking about, and it is low density in our future land use plan. Low density allows for R1 and R2. The difference is R1 is minimum 15,000 feet for each lot, R2 is minimum 10,000. However, the two are low density in our zoning code. Again, this is what the concept that we have seen for the future subdivision. They are not applying for subdivision, but this is what it will be. So you can see that they are gonna have two access points along Jennings Lane and one from Union. But this is not for decision, this is just for your own info. They might change it, but highly unlikely, but the idea is to have bigger lots along the east side and one small lot to the west side.
So they're gonna have two entrances and exits on Jennings Lane?
This, the
Okay.
first one,
And
and
the
the second.
last drawing I saw was one. Is it gonna be opposite or Garden Gate, where you go into Garden Gate, or is it relocated now?
It's gonna be aligned, so the whole goal is to actually align it, yes.
Okay.
What about the exit on,
This one?
41? Yes.
So you're gonna have one here, this is what I have seen. Again, this is not official because we are not talking about subdivision, but this is the concept to send us.
But it does have frontage on,
Exactly,
on
yes.
the state highway.
And that'll,
Absolutely.
that'll be close to Union Heights, right behind the Union Heights
Okay, go back.
subdivision, is that right?
I will give you an idea, it's
That
not far
exit?
off, you see?
Yeah,
Yes,
Union Heights is right there to
yes,
the
exactly.
left of that, I think.
Before you get there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
again, this is only zoning, so as a subdivision, most likely, if assuming a zoning annexation are approved, most likely they will have to do their own study, I mean their own traffic study. But we don't ask for it at the zoning stage. Because zoning stage is more like conceptual one, and the details come from the subdivision stage.
Is the Garden Gate, is that R1 across the street?
Talking about this one, yes,
Mhm.
I believe so. And again, that's why the concept they have shown us, if I go back, you will see that they're having the bigger lots on the east side, you see, to match what they have.
I would've liked that whole subdivision to be like that. I think that, we've come up with the density issue again.
I would have to tell you, initially, this has been going on for a year now. They wanted to have it high density. And I know maybe some of you have seen it, but we said basically our future land use map doesn't envision it this way. So, and again, at the end of the day, the applicant can apply for whatever they like to do. We just give them guidance. So,
And this has already been annexed, so, oh, what?
it is actually, it
It's
is
in the
process.
process.
It has to, the second and the final reading would be, I believe, in January.
And it would be R1.
Oh,
But we don't have to agree for the R2.
County's agriculture.
We don't necessarily need to agree to an R2, just because it's been annexed.
that's no problem. But just all I can tell you, is this all the requirements for our change. Even the future review, it allows for our one. No, you don't have to.
Any other questions for Wally?
She, I just messaged her a minute ago. She said it's really good. I was like, thanks.
All right, I'll entertain a motion one way or another.
I left her, you have a cookie, this one? She-
Motion made to approve, second. Anybody?
Right.
I'm gonna make a motion to send an unfavorable recommendation to council, not
Yeah, we-
reason.
a second to one of the motions here.
What motion was your first motion?
He got a motion to approve, he's wanting to send, she's wanting to send, she can't until I decide on this one here. Said I got a second on Councilmember Turnbow's motion. Well, just to find out, I'll second it. This vote on it and see. Roll call.
Okay, if you agree to send a favorable recommendation to the city council on this, when I call your name, you'll say yes. Commissioner Mower,
No.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Councilmember Turnbow,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilhoit,
No.
Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
No.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
No.
Chairman Landers,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee.
No.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4 no's, and, four yeses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 no's.
Now you can make a motion.
I'm gonna make a motion to send an unfavorable recommendation to the city council.
All right, I have a motion for an unfavorable recommendation. So I have a second to that.
Second.
Who's that though?
Vote.
You guys speak up tonight, I
I
can't
know
hear
it,
you.
I gotta see.
Okay, again, this is an unfavorable recommendation to the city council. When I call your name, if you agree unfavorable, you will say yes. Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Chairman Landers,
No.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Mower,
Yeah.
Commissioner Taylor, Commissioner, Councilmember Turnbow,
Nope.
and Commissioner Wilhoit.
Yeah.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses, 3 no's. So an unfavorable recommendation will go to the city council on that rezoning.
Okay. All right, consideration of rezoning request from the county's agriculture and forestry zoning district to the residential low-density R2 zoning district for an 18.19 acre parcel on the north side of Union Street, west of Jenny Lane.
Chair, this is the one, the exact same one. If you recall, there were 2 plots. We're talking about the one here. And it's exactly the same like the previous one. So, it's in the process of annexation as well. And the concept for subdivision that was shown to the slide were actually the 2 together.
This is, yes, the smaller.
The smaller one.
Small piece of it.
Any questions on this? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to provide an unfavorable recommendation to the city council.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded for an unfavorable recommendation. Roll call.
When I call your name, if you agree unfavorable recommendation, you will say yes. Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Chairman Landers,
No.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Mower,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Nope.
Councilmember Turnbow,
Nope.
Commissioner Wilhoit, and Mayor Carroll.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses, 3 no's. An unfavorable recommendation will be presented to the council. The first reading on that ordinance will be January the 11th. Second, if it passes on first reading, it'll go into February if it doesn't